We're going to go a little bit more mainstream. Airbnb investing.
I do think eventually they will come and just say no more Airbnb.
This is like an alternative approach to Airbnb if you're going to do it.
You should look this up. This is cool. You'll love it.
Yeah, housing crisis is a big thing going on right now.
Very standard stuff that I'm like, yeah, that should be common sense.
You succeed, I succeed in spite of the statistics. So if the market's down, I'm going to succeed anyway. Market's up, I'm going to succeed better than the rest. Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Back here with Jacob Campagnaro yet again. Last time we were talking about alternative investing. This time we're going to go a little bit more mainstream, Airbnb investing.
Yep.
And I wanted to touch on this because, I don't know, like I feel like it's kind of played out in a way in a lot of people's minds. Like there was a time where Airbnb was hot in Ontario. Everybody was investing in Airbnb and arbitrage. Those were the two big strategies. Do they still work? Jake, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so I think it's not as gone away as you might think it has. I think it's more of a general thing, Andrew. Like you look at the real estate market right now, it's not, we're in a bit of a down market. I think there's great opportunity out there, but there's not that many people talking about it. It's not as sexy as it used to be, right? And I think that's trickled into that Airbnb market as well. Now there's also additional news about legislation, the new tax bylaw. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, let's talk like high level. Yeah. I know the federal government, there's been rumblings that they're going to just try and do something to prevent people from Airbnb their properties across Ontario or across Canada.
Yeah, and so one of them was you're no longer allowed to write off your Airbnb as for tax purposes.
So if you're doing less than 30-day stays, you don't get the tax deductions.
No. Right, because they're saying, because a lot of municipalities are saying, well, it's only for personal residence, so why are you taking a tax deduction on your personal residence?
And so CRA would enforce this. They wouldn't want you to...
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit of a loophole to say, okay, we're going to let CRA enforce it, and we're not going to enforce it as the municipality.
Yeah. Well, the rhetoric has been, don't do Airbnb. That's basically it. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to apply to your cottage country and all that stuff. And certainly not commercial people who are actually in hospitality businesses. I don't think any of that. But I think it is specifically going to kind of stomp on, those people who would like to make a little side income from their home.
Which is just, it's just ridiculous because that's that's the whole purpose of Airbnb. Yes, there's people out there making mega fortunes off of it.
Oh yeah.
But it's really just a nice little tool for the person who has a cottage like me. Right. I had this cottage and I'm not using it as much as I thought I would. Rather than selling it, why don't I just look at making a little bit of income off of it? Right. I'm not retiring off of my cottage income.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think it's ridiculous that the government's, poo-pooing it so much. And, I follow all the bylaws. I got the sticker in my window. I'm good. We pay the taxes.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't think that that's one of the ones, and I'd have to look into what, actually gets, turned into law, so to speak. But I don't think they're going to go after that kind of municipality. I could be wrong. Maybe they will.
Well, I think, listen, this is all speculation, right? And I don't want to be super negative about it. But I do think eventually they will come and just say no more Airbnb.
Yeah. And
right.
That's
BC,
the rhetoric, right?
BC has already done it.
Yeah. Isn't it like a statewide tax or something like that?
No, BC is no Airbnb. Done.
No, so you just can't offer Airbnb in residential.
I think there's certain zoning in certain districts, in Whistler and stuff, that you can do it, but just in general.
Yeah, there's going to be exceptions where there are key places that are just like for instance, Muskoka. I've said this recently. Are you really going to stop people from renting out their cottages on a lake? If you don't need it, you might as well rent it out to somebody else.
And that's another thing, right? Is we can, and I don't want to jump around, but we can talk about differentiating, what is Airbnb? When people say Airbnb these days, it's now synonymous with short-term rental.
Short-term rental. It's like Kleenex for facial tissue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. And my big thing is okay, so this is all being taxed and all being governed because you have that online presence. So the municipality can easily go online and take a look. But what about the days before Airbnb when it was you had to build your own website, or it was just the same family and they would call you every year and say, "Hey, Bob, I'm coming up."
And because it was harder to do it, it was never a runaway problem, right? Most people just did regular rentals or monthly rentals or what have you.
And that's it. There's no issue. So go ahead.
So do we want to look at the ways that it works or how we would hedge ourselves for the future? If I wanted to build an Airbnb business in Ontario right now, I'm telling you that I would go after hospitality oriented communities. So I would go to places where there's a lot of tourists coming in, and it's to be expected that you're going to have Airbnbs or short-term stay rentals, and you're going to probably have a tax associated with it. There's already going to be a bylaw in place to govern that.
Yep.
That's the type of place. Or I'd look to commercial zonings that specifically allow hospitality, and then I'm kind of exempt from all of that. It's
so
a
that
business.
would be what? That would be hotels, motels, campgrounds, resorts, cottage resorts.
And there's nothing to stop you from putting a hotel on Airbnb. Like, you could rent your rooms out through Airbnb.
That's just another. Well, if they tell you can't do that, you can't do Booking.com, right?
Booking.com, which is a popular one. Like our camp, the one that we have, we rent out our trailers and tents on Booking.com. We rent out our cottage resort on Booking.com. Yep. So yeah, that's just a platform. Like you said, what is Airbnb? It's just a platform to get your short-term stay rental rented, or medium-term. You could do that too.
It's just because it's been grouped into one. Now
it's become slang. It's become interchanged with short-term rental. In fact, more common than short-term rental.
And so I purposely try to stay away from calling it Airbnb because there's actually a bit of a negative connotation to attach to that now. So I go out of my way to call it short-term rental. Yeah. Right. We're talking about short-term rentals today. We're talking, that's what I want to go down. Yeah. But anyhow, so there's the commercial zoning. There's the cottage districts, cottage areas. And as long as you follow the bylaws and the rules that they put in place, which personally, I'm not one for loving bylaws, but I actually do agree with those ones. Have a fire extinguisher in your cottage. Clearly have an exit labeled. Have a fire alarm, very standard stuff that I'm like, that should be common sense. That shouldn't have to be a bylaw, but I guess it is because so many people were not doing that already. Right. So yes, follow your bylaws, follow your rules. I do think you can have a profitable short-term rental business, an Airbnb business in these districts, even with the legislations and the taxes and all of that. Like build it into your price. That's what I did.
Yeah, the tax is going to be what, like a 4% on revenue?
So where I am, it's 4% on revenue. Plus there's a $300 renewal fee for your license every year. Right? So cool. I get $300 a cleaning fee. Great. There's my renewal fee covered. And then I have the 4% MAT tax, which I've just put as a bottom line number on my tax, my tax request on Airbnb. Right. Okay. So that doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah,
right?
So you just collect it.
I just collect it. Nobody's ever been like, oh, you're charging too much tax. I've never had that.
Now I've heard, and I don't know if you can tell me, like you're seeing this, that people are starting to kind of trend away from Airbnb. They want more of the hotel stay. They don't want to pay a cleaning fee. They don't want to have to clean up after themselves. There's kind of like a bit of a sentiment around that. I don't know if that's actually true. I've just heard some rumblings about that.
Personally, I think that comes back to location once again, Andrew, right? Because if you're thinking about, okay, if I go to a city, like if I'm at a conference for a work event, or I got to go show a building out of town and I have to stay the night, I'm not staying in Airbnb. Right? Yeah. I want a nice hotel room. Get in, get out, have my night's sleep. Yeah. That's just my personal preference. But if I'm going to cottage country, then yes, of course I'm staying at an Airbnb. I don't want to stay at a motel in cottage country. That's no fun. So again, I think it's very area dependent on where you are. And then zoning class, right? And trying to get the right zoning.
Yeah, being in a res zoning, you're kind of at the mercy of what will they change. And I think a lot of the reason that you hear like some of this stuff on the news and stuff is they kind of in advance want to scare people out of doing it. Yeah. They want to just kind of reduce the amount. So they'll talk about it ahead of time, but long before they actually do anything. And even if they're not going to do something, just to try and discourage people from doing it. Because housing crisis is a big thing going on right now. There's not any signs that new production is going to come anywhere near need. So knowing this, they're going to say stuff. And I think that's natural. Now, to the point of are things changing in the Airbnb side of things from the customer side, I agree with your point. It's where are you going? In some cases, I am just going to want a cottage and not a hotel room. I'm going to want a separate, standalone house and not a hotel room. Like I'm going to want something that has a full kitchen and not a hotel room. Like if you are just a product that could very easily be a hotel, then I think you should worry. Mm-hmm. But if you're distinctly different, I don't think that you need to pay too much attention to that. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. So then going into strategies for Airbnb.
Mhm.
Like I think a fantastic strategy is boutique hotels,
Mhm.
right? Find those unique hotels, find those unique motels, or those rundown motels you can make unique,
Mhm.
right? We all know there's a lot of stories of that happening right now. So one, you have the zoning already to allow the Airbnb, the short-term rental.
Yeah.
And then two, yeah, if you want to market as a short-term rental, one-night stay thing, go for it. There's no issue with that. That's actually part of your business plan.
Mhm.
If you want to focus on 30-day rentals or 30-plus day rentals, great, you can do that as well, right? So those hotel motel asset class is really good for that. You just have to know what you're looking at when you're purchasing, because it's the value's calculated a little bit differently. It's more of a business slash real estate. But that's the route I'm sending my clients down if they're looking to go short term. I'm currently telling them to stay away from the single family rentals. Truly,
it's tough to want to do it. So I just ran a couple of quick numbers on a spreadsheet here. I'm not screen sharing this. I'm just high level. Like if I was doing $100,000 a year on an Airbnb, including cleaning fees, what would I need to spend to get a place like that, Jake? Do you think? Like, am I spending $1 million to get that these days? If I want to go to Muskoka,
probably.
I know there's always outliers. So this is where like your typical deal is not really going to make sense, because 100,000 across the year is 83.33 a month. If you're $5,000 in taxes, $3,000 in insurance, $5,000 in maintenance, utilities about $350 a month, including internet, and then you've got 15% management fee and $30,000 in cleaning. Like if you spend $30,000 in cleaning across the year, that you can play with that number. But I mean, if I got to pay $800,000 for that, say hypothetically, I'm losing $700 a month.
Yeah.
So then it's just a question of, okay, am I going to clean it myself or manage it myself? And then you can cut that down. Say your cleaning's only $20,000. Well, now you're making a little bit of cash flow. But I think for a lot of people, if they got that Freedom 55 type dream where they just want to retire now, so not 55, the Freedom Now dream, it's not appealing. Like, oh yeah, maybe I can work really hard in the hospitality business to break even. So then there's where you kind of become creative, right? I'm a big fan of never become part of the statistic. Like you succeed, I succeed in spite of the statistics. So if the market's down, I'm going to succeed anyway. Market's up, I'm going to succeed better than the rest. And how do I do that? By understanding my customer better, by providing better amenities, better photos, better service. And that type of thing, I think it starts to create an exponential difference in level of earnings.
And that's what I love. Like and that's how I've run my business, and that's how I look at my life. Like I always try to exceed the ordinary.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to be and I don't know why people do this on Airbnb. Like it's go find a real estate.
Take iPhone photos.
Yeah. Go find a real estate photography company. Go get your photos. Like
yeah.
I did drone photography at my cottage.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go to my thing, there's drone photography. It shows you the beach, shows you how to get to the beach. Like, and it's not that difficult to do. I just went, what is everybody else doing? How can I do it a bit better? Just a bit. I don't need to blow it out of the water, but let's just go that extra level.
And the key thing is just taking the time to focus on it. And it is brain energy. Like, we have our whole facility. We have some 30 some odd listings on Airbnb.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot to put the energy into each listing.
Yeah.
You need a team to do that. But if you just got one, you can basically experiment. How can I make this perform better than everybody else's?
Yeah.
And then you create your model, and then from there you can actually grow and expand.
There's your business, and
now you have a viable business. Yeah. But I wouldn't really want to start something like this on single-family homes. This was the conversation we had before we ended up buying the camp that we bought together. For those who don't know, we bought a campground, which we turned into a glamping campground with Airbnb tents and trailers, all that. So we did this because we wanted scale. Wanted to be able to scale without having to get permits or buy more houses. And we've been able to do that. Of course, it's still a business. It still takes time. But is there any other type of product? Like you talked about boutique hotels. I think that's super awesome idea. And you can certainly list that on Airbnb.
Yeah.
And any other property that would be a good pick if you wanted to do Airbnb in Ontario or in Canada.
Yeah. So the campground stuff I like, right? And then we also have cottage resorts.
Cottage resort zoning.
Right?
Yeah.
So cottage resort zoning, which is now you have, again, a commercial zoning with multiple residential dwellings on it. And you can...
commercial, but like they're meant for cottage dwellings.
Yeah. And you can rent that out as well. Outside of that...
I don't like the seasonal element. I will say, like we're heavy into the seasonal stuff. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like you can win with that because you make big money in the summer. But I would love to get into that type of thing where you could be a little bit more year round. Like you have a draw in the winter. Like Muskoka, I think actually has a fair draw in the winter, especially with their ski resorts and stuff, if you can get something close. And then there's also like, can I take what would appear to be a seasonal resort and turn it into something that could be year round? And maybe that's just throwing a few more on-site amenities.
And that's a value add play now.
Value add play, like saunas, hot tubs, really unique, I don't know, some sort of really unique value proposition where they can come and get away this winter weekend, you know, do something, a romantic getaway. And if you can sell them on it, and you have to advertise it, you got to reach your customer. But
I think that's big still, right? That's the part that's big still in social media, in Instagram, in talking with clients. People love the idea of creating that resort, that getaway atmosphere. That has not gone away, but I do think, the attractiveness of the cottage rental has gone down for sure.
If you're speaking in generalities, if you're speaking of the statistics and you're considering yourself one of them, then you're probably not going to want to do it. But if you find that hidden value, which we were talking alternative investments last week, so I think this is a nice segue. This is like an alternative approach to Airbnb. If you're going to do it, you've got to find a way to be better than the rest. And there are some really good resources out there, and most people, to your point, they kind of take the lazy route. They don't take good photos. They blend into average. Well, average efforts get average results.
Exactly. And so before we run out of time here, I did want to quickly talk about alternative short-term rental product. So not residential product, but rather short-term storage.
Short-term storage?
Have you so this
isn't all storage short-term? It's like not 30-day.
Let's just go into a quick storage topic, right? Because I had another one that just popped in my head. I have to say it.
So we are continuing on our alternative investments discussion.
Alternative investments. But I knew a guy. He had an Airbnb property, but it was a farm, and on that farm he had like 3 barns and a big shed. And so this guy was actually Airbnb-ing the main property, but then he did storage in the barns. But he did car storage. So everyone in the winter would drive their cars there, park their cars for the winter.
So you're talking about seasonal storage?
Seasonal storage. And then in the summer, he had people store their snowmobiles there.
Nice.
Right? And stuff like that. So he was always constantly doing the storage thing. I thought it was genius, right? Because I was like, okay, you're maximizing the Airbnb here. Then you have this. So, that brought me down the path of like barn dominiums and things like that. Have you ever heard of barn dominium?
No. Oh, when they turn it into a condominium?
Well, no. So it's you should look this up. This is cool. You'll love it. It's people are building like shops, huge garages with a piece that's like a condo unit.
Okay.
So or not a condo unit, but the size of a condo unit, and they're calling them barn dominiums. So think of like a house with a garage. It's the opposite. It's a garage with a house.
A garage with a house.
Right.
Interesting.
It's really
so it's all commercial financed.
It's all commercial financed, right? So you have this big shop, usually, and they're on like big farmlands or something like that. But you'll have like a massive shop.
But who's going to rent that shop?
And then a second floor. Well, in that case, you can do car storage in the shop.
Or you can do something like that. Is that profitable? I mean, we really have to dig into the numbers, and maybe that's its own episode.
So it is. Just again quickly, this guy was charging. This guy was undercharging, but he was $600 per car for the winter.
And how many could he fit?
95.
95?
Yeah.
In how many square feet is he doing that?
Yeah. I probably had.
That's $57,000
for the winter.
For the winter. So if he does another offsetting equal amount for summer storage, he's in $120,000 just for that. Does he have other income sources on the property?
The Airbnb house.
So say
cash crop in the back.
Yeah, so he's just figuring every way to monetize.
Then he did another $250 an acre for cash crop. Like smart guy.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very interesting product. That's the stuff that gets me super excited right now. I saw that.
Creativity, right?
I was like, this is so simple. Like it's a 5-acre piece of farmland. He's got an acre that has the house and the 3 barns, and then he's got another 4 acres of farmland he's renting out. Like,
I like the creativity.
And I was talking to him. We were talking about windmills and solar panels.
Yeah.
So a windmill, I know this from another client I had. A windmill on his farm at least was $60,000 a year in rental.
$60,000 a year.
And then he had
To rent the land for the windmill? To let them put it up.
So he was getting 60 a year for the windmill.
Yeah.
And then he had solar panels. Again, it was something like 30 or 40 a year for the solar panel. Right. So between the windmill and the solar panel, the cash crop,
Yeah.
the car storage, the Airbnb house,
He's got a lot of monetization.
there was some pretty cool stuff happening there. So
is that a deal like we can review, or he's not selling that?
he's not selling, but
Yeah.
but I have all the numbers because we
Yeah.
did a deep dive for him. We went through an investment analysis.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do an episode on something like that.
Yeah, let's do a creative episode. We'll do that in the near future.
Yeah.
Might not be next week, but we should. If we can, we'll do it
We'll
next week.
we'll mix it up. And I just, and I sorry, I got off topic, but it popped into my
Clearly
head.
it's on Jake's mind, but I still like the idea of like alternative ways. Like if you have, say, that Airbnb property, if you have extra space, maybe you can even offer that. It depends on your zoning. Like sometimes your zoning will allow that. Maybe it won't.
Yeah.
That is one thing to watch out for with that.
Always.
Now, where else were we going with this episode? Oh, just we were talking short-term stays. Short-term seasonal storage as well. That's another, obviously, creative play. And then what else do we have? Oh, yes. Creative strategies to get people out. So all about not being a statistic. I know I had Kyle Ford and Chelsea Middleton on my podcast like way back, like episode 56. We're at like 256 almost. So way back about 200 episodes ago, they came on and they talked about how they would get people up to their cottages in the winter, and they would put it on like Milton Moms group and things like that. And they would talk about, hey, you want your special cottage getaway. So when other people were just like shutting down their cottages for the winter, these guys were out hustling and getting people to, book up stays. And that's work, obviously. But, if that's one thing you could do. You could also pair that with like snowmobile getaways and pair with a local snowmobile outfit, and maybe they do rentals or something like that, and say, hey, would you offer something to our guests? We do like
here's a free tip for everybody. Why don't you go and get a snowmobile pass for the trails, the Ontario Federation of Snowmobiles, whatever it's called. Go get a pass, and every guest that stays at Airbnb gets a pass.
They can just use it
and then market that on the Ontario Snowmobile getaway groups and say, hey guys, you come stay here, you're getting a free trail pass
for while you're here. They could just attach it to their snowmobile, can they?
Yeah. It's just a sticker.
They're interchangeable?
Yeah.
You have to get some
you just get a day pass, like a day pass.
Get a day pass.
Right.
Oh, so you're going to buy a day pass for each one of them?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I can sleep 4 at my cottage. Here's 4 day passes. Have at it, guys. And it's
so you just ask them ahead of time if they want the day passes, and
I just market it in it and go get it. Like you can buy a season, like similar to what we're doing with the campground, right? We're going to get a parks pass.
Interesting.
So if you come stay with us, you get a free parks pass. Go enjoy.
We're doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jake's already decided we're doing this. It's news to me. All right.
So little things like that, I think, go a long way. It's just to separate you from the others in the winter.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So I think we touched on the Airbnb at a high level here, short-term stay at a high level, and then a little bit on the seasonal storage.
A little bit of a tangent episode.
I don't mind the tangents. I like them. We're kind of continuing the theme from last week where we were just talking alternative investments. Yeah. So anything else we wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
I'd say let's continue this theme of alternative investments. I think it's a fun topic. There's lots to do still.
And creative, yeah. So that case study you were talking about would be great.
I was just going to say that, but I'd like to dive into it a little bit more. But also to our viewers, if you guys have any specifics, throw it in the comments. Let's review something for you guys. Or
if you've got a unique idea, send us a message. You can DM me on Instagram. That's probably the easy way. DM probably, or you can fill out the form for Jake. I don't know what you want to give away.
Both
here.
Work.
Yeah,
both work.
He's what, Jacob C?
It's Jacob Campagnaro.
Jacob Campagnaro on Instagram.
Yep. Okay. Send me a message.
Yeah, so you can send either of us a DM if you have a suggestion, or put it right in the comments. But if you prefer privacy or just being discreet about it, that's cool too. Anyways, if you want to connect with Jake and have him help you out with some of your real estate needs, he can be reached by entering your info through the link below this video, and you can schedule a call with him, and he'd be happy to dig into what it is you're trying to do.
Right on. Yeah.
All right.
Look forward to it.
All right, guys. We'll see you again next week.